Okay, good morning, everyone. Looks like we are all set to begin. My name is Drew Olson. I'm with the sales and marketing team here at Tools Forever, and I'm joined by Sean Blankenship, Senior Implementation Consultant. In fact, some of you on here probably have had the opportunity to work with Sean over the years on your various projects and implementations. So, Sean, thank you for your help today. And to everyone else, thank you for your time. We know how busy all of you are, and especially this time of year. So appreciate you carving out a little bit of time on your calendars for us today. But we are already into November. The year is winding down. Time flies, but what an exciting growth-fueled year it's been for us here. A lot of new customers in a lot of different industries. But really, we've made a ton of progress on our product vision and roadmap. And that really will be the focus of our meeting today, HelloID beyond SSO. But first, a big thank you for your continued support. None of our growth, none of our expansion would be possible without all of you, so we certainly appreciate it. For today's meeting, HelloID Beyond SSO, what are we going to be talking about? So I guess I should start by looking back a year, actually almost a year ago exactly, we hosted sort of our first presentation for our existing customer base. And we know a lot of you on here are customers of various different products, UMRA, SSRPM, IAM, a number of existing HelloID customers are on with us as well. A year ago it was a chance for us really to kind of provide an introduction of sorts to HelloID to our existing customer base. Even though HelloID has now been on the market for just about 4 years, was really a chance for us to kind of meet with a broad audience and kind of share the vision and idea behind HelloID. And really what we focused on a lot last year is the single sign-on capabilities within HelloID. In fact, those of you who are joining us from this meeting today that are using HelloID, most likely you're just using HelloID for its SSO capabilities. But over the past year and as we look into 2020, HelloID is really becoming something much more than just a single sign-on solution. In fact, it is really truly becoming a full-service, multi-tenant, cloud-based identity management system. So much more than just how your users are accessing and launching the various applications and resources they need, but really looking at transforming the process of how your organization determines who should get what and how that access and authorization is actually granted. And so before I go any further, I just want to real quick mention that while we have muted your microphones throughout the duration of this presentation, we are planning to save some time at the end to take questions. So definitely use the chat window to submit those, and we'll try and get to as many of them at the end as we can. So the way we will structure the rest of this presentation is to really break HelloID down into 3 key areas. And these are key areas that we feel are critical to success really in any identity management process. So these 3 areas are access management, which again is the single sign-on side of HelloID, service automation, as well as provisioning. And the purpose for us today is to kind of share with you the advancements we've made in each of these 3 areas over the past year. Talk a little bit about what's coming up in each of those areas for us over the next year, and give you guys a few examples to kind of highlight the power behind this additional functionality. At the very least, hopefully you can go back with some ideas as you guys continue to plan and evaluate and assess your own cloud identity strategies. So we will be starting off in the area of access management, and we'll actually be pretty brief here, mainly because we don't really feel like we need to take much time educating all of you on what SSO is and what the benefits are for your organization, though there are many. So really here we'll focus on what we've done to make single sign-on even easier and even more secure for your organization. Ways that we've made it so you can easily enable SSO on nearly any type of application, and really highlight what's new in areas of multi-factor authentication, things that are already included with this module. So for those of you who are currently using SSO, these things are all going to be available to you already. Moving then into service automation, this is an area we are very excited about and probably have made the most progress in over the past year. But with service automation, what we've done is we've created a solution that allows organizations to transform the way that services are requested and delivered within an organization. The idea here is to sort of remove IT as a bottleneck to the service delivery process. And how do we do that? By allowing you now to easily assign resource or product owners, and to allow you to provide a visible service catalog for your end users to request any number of different services, whether it be a new product license, membership to a distribution list, a physical device. It almost doesn't matter. We can build out and customize the forms to handle any number of different requests. And the actual ability then to automate the delivery of that request really will have a pretty dramatic impact in making your service desk much more efficient, as well as providing a really nice experience for your end users. And finally, we will be concluding with a preview of HelloID provisioning. It is worth pausing to recognize the fact that a lot of you on this webinar have already automated your provisioning process and user lifecycle management via our existing solution set, Umra or IAM. So worth noting that HelloID provisioning isn't going to be replacing those existing implementations. However, for us, as more and more of our customers and our prospects are becoming less dependent on on-premise Active Directory and moving more and more of the resources to the cloud, it is important for us to have a true multi-tenant cloud-based identity management system that will handle user provisioning as well. We will be conducting a series of presentations for existing customers in early 2020 that will talk about what that move might look like. And certainly at the end, I'll have contact information if you'd like to discuss and look at what your next 12 to 24 month plan looks like. Tools Forever consultants would be happy to talk you through that. Regardless, we're excited to be able to show what we're working on with HelloID provisioning. This functionality is going to be rolling out over the next few months, and we'll be beginning our production deployments in early 2020. But HelloID provisioning is going to allow you to implement a fully automated lifecycle provisioning system without the need to have anything installed on an on-premise server. So at this point, I am ready to hand it over to Sean Blankenship, who's going to highlight some examples to kind of cover the functionality that I've been talking about here over the last few minutes. So I'm going to hand it over to Sean. He's going to be starting off inside the HelloID portal. Again, remember to get your questions submitted via the chat window. We should have some time at the end to take a few of those. So appreciate you listening, and Sean, I'll hand it over to you.
Thanks, Drew. As many of you are probably already familiar with, we're looking at the HelloID application dashboard. This is the primary point for many users to access their resources, enabling them to use the benefits of SSO of both federated or standards-based integrations like SAML, OAuth, and OpenID Connect, as well as non-SSO compliant systems and applications using our browser plugin functionality. In the past year, we've introduced a more easily configured generic SAML template that has allowed clients more flexibility when working to integrate with new vendors and systems. HelloID has become OpenID certified through the OpenID Foundation as well, which further expands our capabilities with these external systems. Our platform has made MFA options available from very early in its lifetime, allowing organizations to enforce the use of PIN codes and one-time passwords, or OTP, when accessing either the portal or any of their applications, and doing all this without requiring third-party support. In an effort to keep the product as simple to use and give administrators the security options they need, we have rolled out enhancements to our MFA solutions, supporting both simple PIN code authentication and the new push to verify via our new HelloID Authenticator mobile application. Our Gmail application here on our demo environment has already been set up with this new push to verify policy. So if I launch the application, we'll see that we're given a re-authentication screen. And if I pull up my phone screen here, we can see the HelloID Authenticator app is going to give us an alert to approve or deny this login attempt. And simply hitting login on the notification on our phone lets us continue into our desired application. As of the latest release, support for WebAuthn, which is a core piece of the FIDO2 specification, was introduced, allowing the same type of MFA interactions we just talked about and saw using a U2F token such as YubiKey or Google's Titan instead. We believe these new components for HelloID will give organizations the options and flexibility they need to introduce the best security practices into the environment, all while maintaining a user-friendly and simple-to-use interface. With security being a major focus for us, going forward, expect to see additional support and enhancements come to HelloID, with one of the next major security enhancements being the introduction of adaptive authentication coming in 2020. This adaptive authentication allows HelloID to detect and actively try to mitigate suspicious or malicious user and account activity in the system by forcing the user to actually go through these other MFA options. So again, just another layer of authentication on top of the user's activities. So definitely keep an eye out for those updates coming in the next year. And with that, we'll move over to take a look at some of the new functionality in our service automation module. First, I'd like to run through the delegated forms within HelloID. And these are focused at giving you a way to provide easy-to-use forms to the users that allow them to complete common job responsibilities in a simplified way. Some very common examples of these types of delegated tasks are basic AD controls, being able to reset a password or lock or unlock accounts without having to go into more complex utilities like AD users and computers or requiring more oversight than should be needed. Now here I'm using a very basic form to request guest Wi-Fi access for someone like a contractor or maybe even a visitor, providing just a few pieces of information to meet the requirements for the form, and then submitting this off to be processed. Now in this case, behind the scenes, HelloID is actually executing PowerShell to generate a new account for me in AD by utilizing the data from the form as well as the defined business logic. This means administrators can control the detailed aspects of how the accounts are actually made, but give a convenient interface to other departments, for example, so they can easily get a user onto the wireless without having to put in a ticket every time to IT. Now jumping over to AD, we can actually see the user account that was created, as well as the information that came from some of those fields in the form, like the username and the description. And over the years, we've heard feedback about the challenges faced when creating web interfaces or even modules like our UMRA forms, and so we've pushed to make the design of these forms align with the common activities that we see in existing paper processes for a lot of organizations. And if I pull up the form that we just saw from that delegation product, we can see a simple built-in interface allowing you to quickly add, remove fields from the form, as well as adjusting existing fields and properties. Now, many of these field types can actually utilize our new data sources, letting you load complex data type information from either things like static lists or even externally of HelloID, so maybe loading information from an on-premise database or another system or file actually in your network. Delegation forms offer a lot of possibilities in streamlining day-to-day tasks for users, but these forms built in HelloID can also be used alongside of our approval workflows within the self-service side of the service automation module. In this next example, I'm going to swap back to our normal end user account and go into our available self-service products. Now, where the delegation forms are a method for letting users perform specific tasks, the self-service products are a way for users to actually request authorization on anything from, say, applications in HelloID that they'd like added, all the way to adjustments in their account and external systems. I'm going to use a basic VPN access request form here to walk through a relatively simple single approval by my manager. Again, this is very similar to the interaction users would have in the delegation forms, but instead of submitting the form and letting the background logic play out immediately, we're submitting this into an approval workflow where the next approver is actually notified and they're able to come in and actually approve or deny. In this case, the approver is actually my other account, the admin, the one that we were just looking at. So we're going to be swapping back to that, where I can navigate over to the inbox screen here and see our pending requests. As an approver, I can look at the request, see some information, things about the timeline. So for example, if there were additional steps in the approval before me, I'd be able to see that here, as well as all the form information, so all the fields and data that was provided by the original user. So again, now that I've seen all the information and everything looks good, I'm able to go ahead and approve this request. And in the back end here for this specific one, we're actually seeing group memberships just for the user. So we can swap over to AD really quick here. Just refresh the group memberships for my user account. And we can see that the VPN access group has been applied to our account. And jumping back into the admin side of HelloID here, we'll take a quick look at actually building a new approval workflow in your HelloID instance. And if I go ahead and create a new approval workflow here, we can go ahead and give it a name, and then swap over and actually dig into the details of the configuration. We can start to build out the steps here for our workflow, maybe by using some group memberships, as well as even singular users. Additionally, we also have a custom filter that we can apply to this. So we can, instead of using groups, look at specific attribute values for the users. So maybe we're looking for anybody that has a title that maybe contains a specific word or is a specific phrase. Alongside of that, we also have our approval order, so we can very easily switch this between being a synchronous or an asynchronous type of approval process. So it really fits a wide variety of different approval processes that might already be in place for an organization. With the delegation and the self-service portions of service automation here in HelloID, it's a great way to look at some of the daily tasks in the environment and try to make them more efficient, easy to access, and almost more importantly, easier to track and audit with great visibility into the forms and the requests and all the approvals that are associated to it. The last area we wanted to look at today is our upcoming provisioning functionality for HelloID. Now I'm going to swap over to another preview instance here really quick. Landing page here is the actual source system configuration, giving us some information about the current systems, import status, and some previews of the persons actually being brought in. Here we can also go through a wizard for adding additional systems into the configuration. Now, being a pre-release feature, we've only brought in a few of the connectors for testing purposes so far, which means the other common sources will just be added as we move closer to release. I'll jump into the existing system here to illustrate some common aspects of source configuration. The first portion of our mapping is actually going to be related to the actual person information, so we can build out the relationship from our raw source data to the actual internal structure in HelloID. If I pull up one of the users in our data, we can actually see the formatted information for them and see, for example, on the username, how we can actually simply choose the field in the raw data that we want to be connected to this value. Moving over to the contract tab, this is going to be related to the function and the role of the users. So this is going to encompass things like enrollments and employments that might help us define certain aspects of the user, such as active versus inactive. Now the last tab here is actually going to give us visibility into the actual raw data from the system. So this is really convenient for when we're building out that mapping. We can easily reference this to see the entire picture for a user, make sure that we're getting the correct information. And now with our source system sorted out, we can move on to the actual target systems. Very similar to what we saw just now, this screen is going to give us some simple information about the target systems that we already have configured, and is where we'd actually go to add additional systems. So if you're building this out in kind of phases, we're doing that all from this point. We'll jump into the mapping here for the existing Azure AD system. Here on the account settings, we can actually build out the attributes for the system the same way that we saw when we were mapping the source systems. One of the aspects of these fields that I didn't mention, however, is the ability to actually represent the more complex logic that we will see by actually utilizing JavaScript, like we've done here for the username. And bringing up that same user we've been looking at here, we can actually see the output of the attribute maps. We can actually see live updates on the preview data as we're manipulating the field configuration. This makes it just very, very simple to verify the output that we might be sending to Azure AD in this case is going to match the actual expectations. One other item on this interface that I want to bring up is the audit log tab. This lets us see the full audit history of the system in terms of entitlements and rules being applied out to the users. We'll see a little bit more about this here in a little bit. Now, if I move over to the business rules, we can actually take a look at how these entitlements end up being applied to the accounts. We've already set up a basic example to target all of our users that actually have an active contract, and digging into this configuration of the rule, we can see our condition noting that this is isolated to the active users. Below that, we can see the actual entitlements that are associated to this as well. So these are going to be aspects of maybe an account or even the account itself being granted to the user if they fall into this filter. And in this case, we're granting them a user account, making that account actually enabled, as well as granting a specific group membership all at the same time. And over on the right-hand side, we get a list of the users that are going to be falling into this rule as well, so we can get some visibility to be able to verify this rule really from the very beginning, so we can see this long before we actually activate it and have it start applying out. Now, fast forward just a little bit. Now that we have our systems, our rules, our entitlements set up and running, we can go over to the full person's profile, giving us a big picture view kind of the data and the entitlements that we're dealing with. Again, we'll pull up that Claire's account as an example. With all of our mappings, we can see this sort of profile data for the user, demographics and personal details, as well as our contract information. On top of that, we can also see state information for our users. So this is going to include things like whether or not they are actually valid for any of those filters that we built for our rules. In our case, we only have the one rule, but Clara does fall into that rule, so we should have all of those entitlements already granted to them. Now, switching over to the Entitlements tab lets us actually verify the status of each of those entitlements and even actually be able to reapply the entitlements if for some reason it needs to be reprocessed. And earlier we saw the system-wide audit log, but we can also narrow this down to the audit trail for individual users. So we can always go back and see exactly, when did an entitlement get added and when did it get revoked for a user. And wrapping up here, I just wanted to reiterate again here, the provisioning model that we just looked at, this is actually an in-development feature. So as we move closer to the release, we'll have more details and information to be able to share with you guys. Now, if you do have any additional questions, feel free to reach out directly to your account rep. And with that, I'll go ahead and pass the screen back to Drew for closing remarks and Q&A.
All right, Sean, thank you for that. All right, everyone, so we are starting to wind down here, and in just a few minutes, I will get to some of the questions that you've all submitted. So you still have a second here. If you have any last questions, go ahead and get those entered. But as far as next steps moving forward, I've now put a couple things up on the screen. One is going to be a link to the HelloID docs site. There you'll find a lot of good information about HelloID, for anything from product manuals to feature videos, previous webinars, really any information that you might need to learn about the product, you will find there. We've also placed an email address up there, nwsales@toolsforever.com. And you can certainly use that email if you are interested in or have any additional questions that you would like answered offline. You can go ahead and email us there. Additionally, you can go ahead and contact your account managers directly. For those of you on here who are currently using HelloID for single sign-on, if you are interested in trying out any of the functionality that we've shown in service automation, let us know. We can get that enabled for you to test out. Anyone else, because HelloID is a cloud solution, we can quickly create an instance. So if you are interested in piloting any of this functionality, just let us know, and we would be happy to get that going for you as well. Upcoming things just for you to keep in mind, we will be hosting a series of webinars starting in 2020 that will highlight some of the more strategic processes that you guys might be undergoing currently with regards to your own identity management processes. So keep an eye out for those as well. All right, so as we conclude here, I had mentioned that we did want to go through some of the questions you've submitted. So I'm just going to take some of those now and hopefully should be able to get through several of these. So first question that was submitted was regards to the multi-factor authentication. The question essentially asks, is the push verification available as part of the existing HelloID mobile app? At the moment, no. There is a separate HelloID Authenticator app, and you'll find that in either the iOS Apple Store or the Google Store. You can go and download, and you'll want to use the Authenticator app if you are going to use the push verification or one-time password as an option for MFA. All right, next question here that I see is asking if HelloID, if there's been discussions around making HelloID available as an on-premise solution rather than as a service hosted in the cloud. At this point, no. HelloID will remain hosted in Microsoft Azure and will remain a multi-tenant identity as a service solution. It will work with your on-premise services such as Exchange, Active Directory, really anything else. However, HelloID itself will remain as a service. There are a few questions popping up regarding HelloID provisioning, and these appear to be from existing UMRA customers. I'm not going to directly answer those questions here. And as I mentioned earlier, this is something that HelloID provisioning isn't being built to replace UMRA or IAM. However, you may see this as a better fit strategically as you move more and more of your infrastructure and services to the cloud. So use the NW Sales email address or contact your account reps directly. We'd be happy to schedule just a short consult with you and kind of get a feel for what your plans are going to be over the next 12 to 18 months and how HelloID provisioning might fit into that. I see here a question regarding whether Workday will be available as a connector for provisioning. Absolutely. So we do currently have a Workday connector that's available for our UMRA and IAM customers. This will be also available in HelloID. So you'll essentially be able to use Workday as a source system to populate your users into HelloID, but also to drive your lifecycle provisioning process in Active Directory, Azure, or any number of other systems. Second question, very similar, is whether Google integration with G Suite will be available in HelloID. The answer to that is a definite yes. In fact, a lot of the G Suite actions are already available. So if you guys are familiar with UMRA or IAM and are handling any of your G Suite management there, you'll be able to do quite a bit in terms of provisioning or using service automation for more of the one-off day-to-day tasks. But absolutely, G Suite integration will be available. In fact, a lot of the G Suite connector is already included in HelloID. And really, when it comes to systems, any of the systems that we have connectors for available now as target or source systems, or for rostering in our other products, will all be available in HelloID as well. And certainly, the connector list will continue to grow. Let's see here. Last questions. Looks like that is it for the question. I've lost my chat window, so I did see one pop up that looks like I've missed. So we will get that offline. I do apologize. But with that being said, I think this would be a good point to go ahead and wrap up. Like I said, feel free to email us or contact your account manager if you'd like any further information on HelloID. Also, keep an eye on our events page. We will be, again, hosting a series of webinars starting in 2020 that will highlight more strategic identity-related processes, as well as will further kind of keep you all informed of the developments with HelloID provisioning as that functionality continues to roll out over the next few months. And with that, we will go ahead and wrap up for today. Again, everyone, we appreciate all of you, and we certainly appreciate your time today, and hope you have a good one. Talk soon.